Hi my darlings, I've had a great idea. Well, I think it was God's idea. When I've just come back from Nathan's place, because today's the 10th of August 2022, Nathan gave me this book. This book is never going to happen. It's just not me. I started, but then I thought, it's just in the too hard basket. But while I was thinking about that, I was thinking about stories. And I was also thinking about our connection as a family with food and with cooking, because cooking in our family plays a big part of who we are together. And it made me think back of my story and my connection with cooking and where that started. And I thought maybe this might be too big a leap, but maybe I could share with you the beginnings of how I got involved with my love for cooking with family. And it started with Nana Peg. When I was only tiny, much younger than Raven is now, she's 4, I was living in Adamsdown Heights. I was only a toddler, and Nana would take a kitchen chair into the laundry and prop it up against the cement tubs. This used to have a cover over it, and we had an old wringer on the end that we used to put our washing through, that you had to turn with a handle. And she would attach a mincer. Once she had that attached, she would bring out a plate, and on that plate it would have the cut up leftover lamb from the roast that we'd had on Sunday, a couple of carrots and a couple of onions. So the meat was already cut up off the bone, and she used to let me put the meat in here while she turned the handle, and I'd mince the lamb. Then she'd take this blade off and put a finer blade in and let me do the carrots and the onions. And that's how I started cooking. I started with my Nana, not learning recipes, but learning technique and process. I spent a lot of time with Nana doing cooking in Adamsdown. The very first thing I actually cooked, I think, was not cooked so much, but iced patty cakes. Nana would make the patty cakes, and if she put chocolate icing on them, I would put coconut and a little half of a glazed cherry on the top. If she covered them in pink icing, I got to put hundreds and thousands on them, or cashews, or dollarettes. And if she didn't put any icing on them at all, but cut a hole in the middle, I was allowed to cut the hole in half while she filled the patty cake with jam and mock cream, and then I'd place the butterfly wings on, and then using a tea strainer and a teaspoon with icing sugar, she'd let me dust the dust over the top of the fairy cakes. So that was my introduction to cooking. When I got a little bit older, I think we'd moved to Adamsdown, so I was probably 10 by this stage. Nana used to let me help her cook using one of these. Now this is a rotary beater. This is what you used to use before Mixmasters were invented. You'd hold them this way, and you put this into the bowl, and you'd turn the handle. Now I first had to learn how to cream butter and sugar, and to do that Nana used to make me use a fork, and for a little kid that took forever, and my hand would get sore. So eventually she let me cheat, and she introduced me to her beaters. That made creaming butter and sugar a lot easier. But there's only certain places you use this. Once you've used it to cream your butter and sugar, the rest is done with a fork when you're making patty cakes. So it's all in the process and the technique. When we got a bit older and I was living in Merriweather now, Mum had already purchased one of these. And let me say, the Sunbeam Mixmaster is probably the best thing that was ever invented and put on the market. Just recently at Nate's place, Lani was using her KitchenAid to make her first sponge. Now I was in awe because I thought I've always wanted one of those, but they were well out of my price range, so I've never had one. But when I was watching Lani having to scrape the side of the bowl she had to take the whisk out and lower the bowl each time so she could scrape around the inside of the bowl. With the good old Sunbeam, and I'm using Mum's newer version now, you're able to just hold your scraper inside the bowl while the bowl turns around, and you're able to keep the contents of the bowl folding in on itself, and you don't have to keep stopping the machine at all. So in hindsight, I think the sort of cooking that I do, I'd still prefer this style over maybe a KitchenAid. But what would I know? I haven't got a whisk either. I've only got these sort of beaters. The whisks do make sponges lighter. So that's a small introduction as to how I come to be making this video for you. Pa's here, and he's helped me record and add comments like, that's not vegetable stock, that's chicken stock, when I'm trying to present you with a vegetarian version of my roast veggie soup, and testing the soup last night after it was cooked when the lid's not supposed to come off until the pot goes completely cold. He's helping himself with a spoon in the bowl before he went to bed. That's all good. I love him. I forgive him. So the idea of this little video YouTube that we've created, if I can get it from the camera onto the computer and remember how I've got to do it, and your dad can work out how we've got to create our own YouTube link, we will send the link individually to only members of the family. This isn't for wide distribution. This is just an in-house video on how we cook. The other thing that inspired me was it was Scarlett's birthday yesterday, and Lauren asked her what did she want for a birthday, and she said, I want us all to make dumplings and then we'll see who makes the best. And I was really thrilled by that, and I thought this is a great idea. I don't know how to make dumplings from scratch. Maybe via our YouTube we can record how it's done, and then we can all share in how to make Scarlett's recipe for dumplings. Who knows? It's an avenue we will pursue. This might be a one-off, it might be a one and only. But let's see where this takes us, and let's enjoy cooking as a family together. Love you guys. Mwah.